You can be perfectly fine during the day. You answer messages, finish work, talk to people, and even laugh at the right moments. But then the room gets quiet, the lights go low, and the world stops asking you to perform. That is when your mind suddenly gets loud. It remembers one awkward sentence you said earlier. It replays the tone of someone's message. It brings back a moment from years ago that everyone else has probably forgotten. And even though your body is tired, your brain starts holding a meeting that no one invited you to. A lot of people call this overthinking. They say, "I just think too much," or "I cannot turn my brain off." But one softer explanation is this: your mind may not be trying to punish you. It may finally have enough quiet to process what the day pushed aside. In this video, we can call this pattern the quiet alarm loop. That is not a clinical diagnosis or an official psychology term. It is simply a way to describe what happens when silence makes your inner alarm easier to hear. During the day, your attention is pulled outward. You have conversations to follow, tasks to finish, faces to read, choices to make, and emotions to manage. So many feelings do not disappear. They are just postponed. You may not be ignoring yourself. You may simply be too busy to notice what your mind is holding. Then night arrives and the outside world gets quieter. There are fewer distractions, fewer demands, and fewer things pulling your attention away from yourself. This is when the brain can shift into a more inward mode. Psychology and neuroscience often describe something called the default mode network. In simple terms, it is a brain network often active when you are not focused on an outside task. It can be involved in remembering the past, imagining the future, thinking about yourself, and making sense of relationships. This is not automatically a bad thing. It is part of how the mind organizes experience. But if your day carried too much pressure, the inward mode can become a scanning mode. Your brain starts asking, "Did I do something wrong today? Was that person upset with me? What if tomorrow goes badly? What if I should have said something different?" This is the first layer of the quiet alarm loop. Silence does not create every worry. It simply makes the unfinished ones louder. But why do these thoughts feel so urgent? Why do they not arrive gently, like normal reflections? Why do they feel like alarms? One possible reason is that your brain is not only remembering, it is also predicting. The human mind is very good at imagining what could happen next. That ability can help protect us from danger. But in modern life, danger is not always a wild animal or a clear physical threat. Sometimes it is an email, a delayed reply, a strange facial expression, or an uncertain relationship. Your brain may still use a threat scanning system to deal with these softer dangers. So a small social detail becomes a problem that must be solved immediately. Tomorrow becomes a series of possible failures. A moment someone else forgot becomes a scene your mind keeps replaying. And the strange part is this: you may think you're trying to find an answer, but often you're trying to feel safe. You are not only asking what happened, you are asking, am I okay? Did I ruin something? Will they leave? Will tomorrow be under control? Can I still trust my own life? So the heart of overthinking is not always too many thoughts. Sometimes it is not enough safety. When the body does not feel safe, the mind keeps searching for certainty. But many parts of life do not offer instant certainty. Relationships do not. The future does not. Other people's thoughts do not. And the past cannot be edited. So the mind keeps searching. The more it searches, the less certain it feels. The less certain it feels, the louder the alarm becomes. That is the loop. Quiet allows the thought to appear. The thought creates tension in the body. The body's tension tells the brain the problem must be serious. So the brain keeps searching for a solution. And when no perfect solution appears, the alarm gets stronger. This is also related to rumination. Rumination is not the same as useful thinking. Useful thinking often moves toward a decision, a plan, or a clearer understanding. Rumination circles the same hallway again and again. You keep asking why. You keep replaying details. You keep imagining different outcomes. But somehow, you do not arrive anywhere new. Rumination can feel productive because your mind is active. But emotionally, it often makes the problem heavier. And at night, This can become even harder. Your body is tired. Your attention is thinner. Your emotional regulation may not be as strong as it was earlier in the day. During the day, you can distract yourself with movement, people, tasks, and noise. At night, there may be nothing left but you and your own mind. This is why the same problem can feel larger at midnight than it did at noon. Not because there is suddenly more evidence, but because your brain and body are in a different state. One of the most painful parts is knowing you're overthinking and still not being able to stop. The more you tell yourself, "Do not think about this," the more the thought returns. The more you try to sleep, the more awake you feel. The more you demand calm, the tighter your chest becomes. This happens because the brain does not always quiet down just because it receives an order, especially when it believes something may be connected to safety. When you say, "Stop thinking about this," your brain may hear, "This problem has not been handled yet," so it keeps reminding you. It is like a background program on a computer that keeps sending pop-up alerts. You keep closing the window, but the task running underneath is still active. The quiet alarm loop is not proof that you lack discipline. It is more like an internal checking system that has not yet been reassured. So why are some people especially likely to overthink when everything gets quiet? One reason may be that they spend the day pushing themselves aside. They act normal in front of others. They stay efficient at work. They stay kind in relationships. They stay calm in situations that actually affect them. They rarely stop in the moment and ask, "What did I just feel?" So the feeling is not digested. It is delayed. Night becomes the mind's unread message hour. All the internal notifications you did not open during the day begin showing up at once. Another reason is that some people learned early to monitor their environment. They may have grown up needing to notice tone, silence, facial expressions, or emotional shifts. For some people, reading the room was not just a personality trait. It was a way to stay safe. Over time, the brain becomes skilled at scanning. That skill may have protected them once, but later in life, it can keep running even when the present is not as dangerous as the past. So when the world gets quiet, the scanner asks, "What did I miss?" This means your overthinking may contain an old protective logic. It may not be your enemy. It may be a survival pattern that has stayed on duty for too long. The problem is that a protection system that once helped you can become exhausting when it never rests. It is like a small animal keeping watch through the night. It is not bad. It just has not learned that tonight it is allowed to sleep. So the answer is not to shame yourself into silence. The answer is to help your brain understand that not every thought is an emergency. This is why gentle tools can help. Not because they magically erase the mind, but because they change your relationship with what the mind is doing. The first step is to name the loop. When you are lying in bed and circling the same thought again, you can quietly say, "This is the quiet alarm loop." You are not labeling yourself. You are creating distance. Instead of becoming the thought, you are noticing the pattern. You are not saying, "I am broken because I cannot stop." You are saying, "My brain has entered safety scanning mode." This is related to the idea of cognitive diffusion. In simple language, it means learning to see thoughts as thoughts, not as commands you must obey. A thought appearing does not mean it is true. A worry appearing does not mean danger is happening. An embarrassing memory appearing does not mean you are still trapped inside that moment. The second step is to bring the body back towards safety. Overthinking does not only happen in the mind, it also happens in the body. The shoulders tighten. The chest pulls in. The stomach drops. The breathing becomes shallow. If the body still feels like it is facing danger, the brain may struggle to believe you are safe. So before you argue with every thought, start lower than thought. Exhale slowly. Feel the bed or chair holding your weight. Notice your hands, your feet, or one soft sound in the room. You are not forcing yourself to relax. You are giving your nervous system evidence that this is not an emergency. The third step is to give unfinished concerns a container. A lot of nighttime overthinking is the brain's fear of forgetting. It worries that if it does not keep repeating the problem, something important will be lost. So you can write down 3 simple things. What am I worried about? What is one small action I can take tomorrow? What do I not need to solve right now? This does not need to become a long journal entry. It is a way of showing the brain that the concern has been stored somewhere. It no longer has to keep replaying the same scene to remember it. The fourth step is to separate problem-solving thoughts from alarm thoughts. Problem-solving usually becomes more specific over time. It turns into something like, I can send one message tomorrow. I can check that information in the morning. I can handle this after I rest. Alarm thinking usually becomes wider, louder, and more absolute. It says, what if everything goes wrong? What if everyone hates me? What if I am always like this? When you notice alarm thinking, you do not have to follow every question it throws at you. You can name it gently. This is an alarm, not a plan. That small sentence can change the whole atmosphere inside your mind. It reminds you that intensity is not the same as truth. Of course, if nighttime overthinking is severely affecting your sleep, safety, or daily life, professional support can be a caring option. That does not mean you have failed. Sometimes a person does not need more self-control. They need a safer space to process what has been carried for too long. But for many people, understanding the pattern is already a beginning. Because once you stop seeing your quiet mind as a personal defect, you can begin to hear what it is actually trying to say. Maybe it is not saying, you're too sensitive. Maybe it is saying, you held yourself together for a long time today. Maybe it is not saying, you must solve everything right now. Maybe it is saying, some feelings did not get attention earlier. Maybe it is not saying, you are not normal. Maybe it is saying, your system is still learning what safety feels like. Quiet does not have to remain the enemy. At first, quiet may make you hear the alarm. But slowly, as you learn to recognize the loop, calm the body, contain the worry, and treat thoughts as signals instead of orders, quiet can become something else. Not emptiness. Not danger. Not a place where every mistake comes back to judge you, but a place where you no longer have to keep checking everything. A place where you can say to your mind very softly, I know you are trying to protect me, and now we can rest.